Thinking, I was just been watching a lot of Les Brown lately. I love Les Brown because Les Brown was the first person. Well, Les Brown, it's hard to say the first person, but he was one of the first people that played a part in changing my life, and it really did work. Sometimes I forget about how powerful his talks were, and what I mean by that is, I think a lot of people watch motivational talks and they get very inspired, or they watch films or they listen to music. We all do this at some point. We're all guilty of it, myself included. They watch motivational people and stories and they get very motivated and inspired by them, but then they don't do anything. Like they don't actually make changes in their life. They don't go and face their fears, because once they finish watching the motivational piece of content, whether it's a movie or a piece of music, or however it may motivate them, or a piece of theatre, whatever it is, they get inspired, but it doesn't last forever. And then the inspiration eventually goes. Obviously, you can't be with that person forever, or you can't watch a film forever. So when people get back on their own, they lose motivation again, because the fear and the anxiety and the self doubt kicks in, and they just can't bring themselves to face their fears. And I understand that, because I've had many fears myself. It's hard. It's very hard for people. It is hard at times. So obviously not everybody gets to that point. I hope a lot of people do get past it. So when I was listening to Les Brown, I'd already gone through that stage of watching so many Rocky films, and just being inspired by the story and just wanting to succeed, feeling like an underdog in my life, and just being so sick and tired of being frightened and having anxiety and depression and low self-esteem and self-doubt, and just feeling like I'm not successful, I'm not getting anywhere in my life. My life is just drab, it's just boring, it's the same. I'm so paralyzed with fear. I'm so afraid of, what people think about me. I'm so afraid of not being good enough. I'm so afraid of trying new things in case I fail. And I'm afraid of dealing with the consequences that will come with that, which will be negative emotions, which will be those thoughts and feelings that I'm not good enough, and stuff like that. So by the time I got to listening to Les Brown stuff, I was literally rock bottom. I've said it before. If you know my story, I was I was in this place where it was a horrible place in my life, where I was thinking about taking my own life, but then I was also thinking I can't do that. Like, I'm too scared to do that. I'm a God fearing person. I believe in God. I wouldn't want to put that pain and hurt on my family. That would destroy my family. But then it was like, well, I don't want to commit suicide, but at the same time, I'm so frightened of living. I'm so frightened of living like this back then, the way I was living, which was existing from day to day, and I was just saddened and depressed and in agony, in pain. Um, I was in pain and in agony because I wasn't facing my fears, and that was hurting me. I was breaking my heart every day. So by the time I got to listening to Les Brown, I was I was dying for help, man. It was a cry for help, really. So when I heard Les Brown stuff, and he said a couple of words that it just changed me, man. When he said, "You will fail your way to success. You got to be hungry." Those simple words, they just meant. That's why I cried, because the cry was like, it meant so much to me to finally make a decision that I'm not going to live like this anymore. I can't do this anymore. I can't be like this anymore. I can't be bullied by my fear. I can't be stuck in my house. I can't be stuck financially, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, in dating. And I just felt like a loser, and in every area of my life. I wasn't moving forward. I wasn't taking risks, because I was afraid that if I did take them, I'd fail, I'd be judged, and I'd make mistakes, or I wouldn't be able to handle them. So when Les Brown said, well, see, what happened to me was, I had that instant respect for Les Brown. When you're not successful, and you hear somebody that's very successful, and they're speaking to thousands of people, and they're famous, and they made a lot of money, and they've helped people, and they're very confident. You can feel it in their energy. You just know it. You have such a respect for them. Well, I did anyway, which is good. I had such a respect for Les Brown and such a trust because of the kind of what I sensed, that when he said it's possible, you can live your dreams and someone's opinion of you doesn't have to become your reality, and it doesn't matter where you've grown up, if you've grown up poor in poverty or if you've, struggled with drugs, or it was like, it doesn't matter how bad your life is right now, you can change it. You've got the power within you to change it. And it's not going to be easy, but it is possible. It's possible. You can live your dreams. As I said, it just made me cry my eyes out, because in that moment when he said those words and I cried, I actually believed I can do this, and I didn't believe I could do it up until that point. That's why I was just suffering from depression. See, I've come to realize this, and I wanted to share this today with people. I think it will help a lot of people. The reason why I suffered so much depression in my life, I can make this very simple, because I didn't face my fears enough or at all. I didn't take practical action. And the consequences of me not doing that, innately, intuitively, deep down in my heart, it just killed my soul, man. It killed me. Because I knew, it's not even an intellectual thing. I just knew in my own heart that if I do this, I'm going to feel better. But what was stopping me is I was afraid to fail. And all of it, if not all of it, most of it went back to my childhood. Because at some point in my childhood, of course, like in all our childhoods, something went wrong for me. And what went wrong was that I did try to do things, and I got nervous, and I wasn't able to do them well, and I got laughed at school, and I got judged. So I was so afraid of that happening again. Of course, if you try something and you fail at it, and you have a horrible experience, and you feel terrible about yourself after, and you have many weeks after that experience of depression and panic attacks, if you don't have a strong mindset and you haven't got people around you to encourage you and tell you that it's okay, that it doesn't mean you're not good enough, it doesn't mean that your intrinsic value as a person is gone. That's not true. If you don't have someone to tell you that, and I didn't really open up to people in those days. I was nothing like what I am now, how open I am. So when you're in that place, you're so scared to be hurt again. You protect yourself, and that's what I did. I protected myself. And one of the most common patterns in how people protect themselves, and how I did, is by avoiding fear, not facing it. And it may sound, I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, but for some people listening to this, they may think this sounds quite simplistic. But if you understand how afraid you are in your life of what's holding you back, you know that it's very complicated mentally. When you do it, it's easy. And that's the positive part of my story. So that's where I was mentally, emotionally. So after listening, sorry, let me just get my tea. It's making me thirsty. God, when you start speaking the truth and you get things out, it makes you dehydrated. So when I was listening to Les Brown, and I was processing all my fears, everything that frightened me, that has been frightening me for all my life, for like 14 years of baggage, 14 years of just keeping things bottled up and being so frightened inside, and having all these demons and fears and insecurities around money, around success, around my self-esteem, around women, around dating, around business, around everything, training, career, life, society, all these fears that I had, fears of disappointing my parents, fears of being weak, fears of coming across strange, all this going on in my head, and dealing with it, and then not dealing with it, and then almost like on one given day, I hear this man's talk, and he just puts everything into perspective in a couple of minutes and a couple of words. He tells his story, and he tells his story about the fact that he grew up adopted. He was an adopted child, by his birth mother, and he lived on an abandoned building, and he had a twin brother, and his twin brother was the smart, intelligent one, and he was the dumb one. He was, he had a disability. He was eligibly mentally retarded, and all the kids at school used to make fun of him and call him the dumb twin, call him DT. And one day he was walking in high school in the States, and a teacher said to him, "Can you come up and solve that equation?" And Les Brown said, "Well, I'm not your student, this is not my class. And the teacher said, do it anyhow. And Les Brown said, I can't do that, sir. And he said, why not? And then he said, I'm DT. And then the teacher said, what's DT? And all the kids laughed and said, he's the dumb twin, you know, his other twin's the smart one. So obviously, the teacher said to Les Brown, hey, come here, don't ever say that about yourself again. Someone's opinion of you doesn't have to become your reality. And that story, that just got my attention. You know, I think Les Brown said it the other day, I didn't hear it with my ears and in my head, I heard that with my heart. And when I heard that, that's when I just erupted and cried, because I went through that at school. I went through things like that. I got called the dumb one at school. And many times teachers said to me, can you come to the board, Jonathan? Can you read this, paragraph out of the English book? And I couldn't do it. I started stuttering. I couldn't do it. And I felt terrible. I felt so ashamed back then. Or a teacher would say, can you solve this equation? And because of my anxiety and my fear in front of groups of people, I would just freeze up. And I probably could have solved the equation. I could have read from a textbook, because I actually read really well, but I couldn't read when I was nervous. I couldn't perform in front of people because I was so embarrassed. I was so nervous. I was so afraid of making mistakes in front of other people. I was terrified of that. So when Les Brown said he went through those things, and not despite going through those things, but because he went through those things, that's what motivated him to become a successful man. A man that bought his he bought his mother a house. He made several $1 million. He come from poverty to being a millionaire. He went out and spoke in front of 80,000 people. He wrote books. He'd been on TV shows. It just moved me. Like, I've never been motivated like that. I've had many people that inspire. Bruce Lee is a big inspiration of mine, but Les Brown inspired me in a different way to Bruce Lee. Bruce Lee inspired me to train and get ripped and get in touch with my masculinity and get strong. But Les Brown inspired me to face my deepest insecurities and my issues, my demons, things that I was stuffing away and hiding and avoiding all my life, or for the majority of my life anyway. So that's why hearing his story, and like I said, when he got to the part, so when he told his story, I was like, wow, I relate to that. But then when he said, you will fail your way to success, to greatness, I was like, oh my God, my whole life, I have not tried really to push myself to succeed in life or excel in my life, because I've been so afraid of failing. I couldn't bear the consequences. I couldn't handle it. I couldn't risk it. I couldn't risk asking a girl out in case she said no. I couldn't risk going to an event and meeting people in case I got nervous in front of them or awkward. I couldn't bear the thought of that. So there's so many things that I wanted to do in my life, but I was held back by my fears of failure. So when he said, it's okay to fail, that failure's feedback, and you will fail your way to success, I was like, wow. I never thought like that. I always thought the opposite. I always thought that successful people, they almost skip failure. They don't fail. They're just so it just blew my mind, man. It blew my mind because I've never sorry guys, don't know if you said me. You know what? There's no sorry if you're writing any messages. I can't see any messages on this stream. This is really bizarre. This is really this has never happened before. Usually there's a box for messages and there's nothing here. This is strange. Really getting into the talk there. Is there an option? Have I turned it off? This is really weird. Might have to start this again. So anyway, I'll continue. So usually a lot of these successful people online, when I was looking online back in the early 2000s, they never spoke about failure. Everything's like success, perfect strategy. So Les Brown was the most honest for me. I trusted him because he was honest. And for me, a lot of the other ones, I'm not saying that they were dishonest, but they didn't feel honest to me. I didn't really trust it, what they were saying. I didn't really get any confidence from them. It just felt like they're just the money. So they don't really I just don't know, man. I just felt like they don't really care about people. But Les Brown, I really got a sense that he cares about people. He's very genuine, you know. Um, and there's nothing wrong with making money. Les Brown was making money, but he's just a very genuine guy. You know, really got a big heart. So that's when I thought that makes sense to me, because that's what's been holding me back in life. So when I did start going out, the first success for me was taking action. And I realized sometimes I want to tell my story, and I'm like, it's hard to tell my story because there's so many things that have happened, and there's a lot of different ways I can tell it, and there's lots of different points I could make or things I can share with people that follow me. But when I get down to the fundamental truth of what is my story, well, my story is that I was afraid to face my fear in every area of my life. I thought I couldn't do it. But actually in doing it, I realized that I can do it, and I did do it, and I was a lot better than I thought I was. And I was a lot more stronger than I thought I was, and I had a lot of courage, and I wasn't what I thought I was, which was a person that wasn't good enough, just not good enough, no value. It wasn't true. When I started to face my fears, I actually discovered that I had a lot of talent, and that's what I come to know about all of you, and that's why I got into coaching and helping people, because it made me realize, wow, I'm not the only one. There's going to be millions of people all around the world that have got the same problems that I had. They don't believe in themselves. They're stuck. Fear and anxiety has got them living in a mental and emotional hell every day. And if I explain to them and tell them my story and actually tell them that they can do it, and if they go and do it and see for themselves, they don't have to take my word for it as gospel. They're going to see what it does to you as a person. And let's see, this is funny what Les Brown said. Les Brown said, because I'm really trying to get better as a speaker, and he's one of my mentors. Les Brown said, when you're telling your story to people, you need to give them an experience that will transform them. And you can only do that if you speak from your heart. You can only do that if you're honest, you're sincere, which I know I always am, but I'm trying to be even better, more sincere. So I had that experience that he described, that he says you need to give the audience or anyone that you're coaching. That's the experience I had. It was a transformational experience. And the experience was when I faced my fear and I got to the other side of it, I felt on top of the world. I just felt amazing. I just felt I can't really find the words right now, guys, apologies. But I just felt like I can't believe it. I'd done it, and it felt so good. I felt good. That's what I'm trying to say. Where when I didn't face my fears, I felt bad. I felt awful. I felt depressed. I felt like I was in darkness. So, and obviously, it wasn't comfortable facing the fear. Of course not. It was uncomfortable for me at the start. Isn't that a coincidence? Les Brown has literally just flagged up one of his live streams. That's such a weird coincidence. So, although it wasn't comfortable and I was scared inside, I could manage it. And then when I got to the end of it and it finished, I was like, well, that wasn't as bad as I thought. And I feel really good about that. I want to do that again. And that's what I did. And I did it again, and I just kept doing it. I got addicted to it, which was a good addiction, facing fear. And there were times, obviously, where I did failed many times, but I felt good. See, this is a weird thing to say this, right? I'll give you an example of how I felt when I started out. So when I first started practicing talking to women, I would speak to a girl and I'd get nervous, and she would just be like, she'll leave the conversation. She'd be like, I've got to go. And then I'd feel a bit like, I'd feel bad. I'd feel rejected. I'd feel a bit embarrassed. Actually, a lot embarrassed. I'd be like, oh man, I really screwed up. I really made a fool of myself. But then I'd be like, another part of me would be like, but you're awesome though. And I'd be like, I am awesome because I did it. Okay, I didn't get a phone number. Okay, she didn't like me, or she didn't stick around, or I wasn't able to relax and not panic and start getting socially nervous. But I tried, I did it. That's more than what I used to do. And that made me feel good. That gave me some self-esteem. It really did. So then I'll do it the next time. And the next time I might fail again. I might feel a little bit sad, but a part of me would feel good because I did it. So does that make sense, guys, on a practical level? So what I'm trying to say is my success story was I found the courage to face my fears. And I failed a lot of times facing my fears, but that was still a success for me because I wasn't able to do it before. Does that make sense? So it was the doing that made me feel better about myself. And obviously, eventually, Les Brown, everything he said came true for me. When he said that you're going to have to work hard and have an unstoppable hunger and a larger vision of yourself, and you've got to work on yourself every day because it's going to be challenging, but you will fail your way to success. And that's what I done. Through trial and error, through practice, through patience, through perseverance, I failed my way to success. I kept getting rejected by women. Rejection, embarrassment, awkwardness, nervousness, stuttering, inability to express myself. Went through all that. And then one day, I don't know when, I can't remember the exact date, it just clicked. I didn't get nervous with a girl. I was relaxed, I was confident, I was myself. And then she liked me. And then I got the phone number. We went on a date, and I was like, I'd done it. I cannot believe it. Thank you, God. I can't believe this, man. This is like a dream come true. So that happened. And then the same happened with public speaking. The first talk that I ever gave, I just panicked. I just got overwhelmed. I wasn't used to speaking in front of large groups. It had been so many years, and like I said, at school I'd failed and got nervous and started stuttering. So the first talk I gave was when I first started doing the dating coaching, and it was in Covent Garden in a comedy club. There was around 20 to 30 people, and I was nervous, I was new, but when I failed that talk, I came out and I felt really bad about myself, and I remember thinking, it's over for me, it's over. This ain't, I can't do it. But then I had that voice that kicked in again, and it said, well, no, don't quit. You got to go again. Remember what got you to this point, because there were many little successes that I'd had, of course, prior to doing that talk. And I remember when I done that talk, I was dating a lovely girl that eventually became my first real love, if that makes sense. She was at the talk with me, so I succeeded in meeting her. And that's what I did. I continued. I done another talk. I set up a public talk about 2 weeks later, and I was a little bit better at that talk. And then eventually I done like 10 talks in the space of maybe 6 months, and I was just fantastic. But to get good with the public speaking, I had to go through the rejections. I had to go through being awkward. And this is my story. This is what I've done. This is how I changed my life in every area. And I'm still on this journey. It hasn't ended. And in regards to building the business and the brand, it was the same. It was the same try. It was just a constant process of failing and struggling, but then eventually getting it. So I just had to work very hard. And that's my message to people. All of you who've got this anxiety and this fear, I think the hardest part, what is the hardest part for people when I really stop and think, what was the hardest part for me and my clients, all of us? I think the hardest part is the emotional pain that you've got to go through. That's the hardest part, it really is. Mentally, it's challenging, the mental stress of having to face fear and challenge yourself and put yourself out there. But emotionally, that's the hardest part, I think, because it does hurt at times. It really does hurt. I'm not going to lie about it. We're all human. It does hurt. It does hurt when you put yourself out there and you ask someone out and you like them and they don't like you, or you put your heart into a business and you really want to succeed and you're praying that you do, and then you try and then you fail. It hurts. But if you don't quit and you're so passionate and driven, which I was and I still am, you will get past the hurt and the pain, and you will be happy. You will get the result that you want. And again, that's another part of my story. So hold on a second, guys, let's get some water here. I'm dehydrating. So, do you know what, guys? I really want you to comment. I don't know what's going on this stream. I cannot see. It's not coming up. If you're commenting, I can't see nothing. I don't know. I don't know what is going on here with YouTube. There is no. I think on the options, I must have clicked by accident no comments. And I really didn't want to do that. I always like having a comment section here for people. Oh man, it's a bit of a shame. Okay, I'll continue talking anyway. Well, how can we change this? Does any of you know? This is just bizarre. I've never known it to do this. It's really frustrating. I bet people will comment. I'm sorry about that. So, excuse me. So yeah, the emotional part is really challenging, and I think deep down, people obviously people know that. So it's almost like I'm gonna have to do some writing about this to help people. I'll be doing a lot more writing blogs to explain it, because it's hard to explain this stuff sometimes. It is very hard to explain. It's sometimes it's really hard for me to explain experiential things that are emotional and they're quite spiritual on a YouTube video. You know, when I can't see the people and I'm on a screen, it's kind of challenging. I'm much better in person at getting it across, but I'm sure you guys are getting it. You're very smart. So the process that I went through, yes, on a practical level, it was a continuous process of facing my fears and my anxieties in real life, and they were in many different areas, as you know if you know my story. People, public transport, restaurants, first dates, public speaking, pretty much everything. Like as soon as I left my house, it was fear. Fear, everything was frightening for me. That's where I started. Especially with videos. When I was doing a lot of fear busting, I did get to a point where I started YouTube, and I do remember people ask me a lot, "How did I learn to speak in front of the camera like this?" Well, the first few videos, I was so nervous. I couldn't speak for more than about a minute, even less than a minute, without getting awkward and running out of things to say and stuttering. But again, I'd done the same process with these videos. I just kept practicing and speaking, and I just kept doing it, and it got easier over time. So you basically have got to go through a process, which is, and I know a lot of people don't want to hear this, but what can you do? I'm going to tell people the truth. I want to help them. Can't help people if you don't tell them the truth, because if you don't tell people the truth of how you've changed your life or you succeeded, then if you give people half truths or a little bit of it, what happens is people go out naively expecting it to be quite easy, and then when they try and they fail and it's difficult, they almost don't trust you then, and I don't blame them. It's almost like, well, this guy or this person told me that this was going to be easy, but I tell people the truth that this is not easy. But that doesn't mean you can't do it. Anyone can do it. Anyone can do it who's determined and hungry. Because if I can do it, anybody definitely can. Because you can tell by listening to my story how weak I was. I was weak as a person. I really was. Not easy to always say that, but I was at the start. Or at least I thought I was. I wasn't very emotionally and mentally strong at that time. So you got to put yourself through a process of suffering. It is suffering. It is. It's mental and emotional, and there's a lot of stress involved. There's a lot of discomfort. There is a lot of self-doubt that you've got to face. You are worried at times what people are going to think, how they're going to react. You're also worried about your own emotions, how that's going to feel. But the more you face it, the more you get to know fear and the thing you're afraid of, and I'm learning this today, right now in this talk, which is fascinating. The more you keep facing it, and feeling it, and experiencing it, the less scary it becomes. When the unknown is terrifying. If you're scared of something, you don't face it, you make it bigger than what it is. That's what the mind does. We catastrophize, we exaggerate. I've done that with boxing, with sparring. Now, don't get me wrong, sparring's nerve-wracking. Everyone's nervous when they first spar. It's human because it's controlled fighting. You can get hurt. But in my mind, I made it like it was absolute hell. But when I did it, yeah, a couple of times the punches hurt a little bit, but wasn't that bad. It wasn't that bad. It wasn't as bad as what my mum is telling me up here. And that's the same for a lot of things. I don't know why, but I'm going to say this has come into my head. I was always afraid of sales because my bad relationship initially with money, and the fears of, oh, if I sell, or it's greedy, money's the root of all evil, or people might think I'm this, I'm that, and it's an uncomfortable subject, and I'm afraid of being rejected, and it's just not a comfortable subject to talk to people that I don't really know, human beings. It wasn't that comfortable growing up talking about it around family and friends. Money, for a lot of people, myself included, not anymore, but at that time was a very sensitive subject to talk about money. especially for someone like me who is naturally an introvert and shy with people and scared and awkward. Not an easy thing to talk about, not by any means. For me personally, I can't speak for everyone. Some people, if it depends on how they were brought up, it might not be the same. We've all got different insecurities, but for me, it was. So when it came to starting a business and getting on calls, no, actually, I didn't even get on calls at the start. I went and met people and done business meetings. I was terrified actually, very nervous. But I got better at it, and I learned how to negotiate. And for me, what was more nerve wracking was that I decided that I'm not going to use tricks on people. I don't like doing that. I'm just going to be honest with them. And there was a part of me thinking that, well, in the business world, most people are not honest. They use these tricks. It's like, how can I trick someone to get the money? And I just didn't. I don't like that. I didn't feel good about that. I couldn't do that to people. So it's like I'm going to be honest, but I was kind of scared to be honest because it's like, how are people going to react? Because it's almost like you almost feel like people expect you to not be honest anyway, and some people do. And I just thought, nah, I like Les Brown style, the way I was brought up. I don't like tricking people because I wouldn't like someone to do that to me. So, you know, another fear for me was what I'm doing now was, speaking open-heartedly, which was a big fear for me, and it is for many people. When you've grown up and you've been bullied, and basically what what happened to me was in school. I was honest. I was naturally like how I am now, but I got crushed for it. I got criticized for it. I got shouted at by teachers, and I got bullied. So it's almost like in my mind, it's like, well, I'm not allowed to be honest. I can't really be open because when I do it, I get punished for it. And there's a big fear of punishment when you're younger and you can't really defend yourself because it's like, well, if you answer back, we're going to expel you from school, and then you're going to fail your grades, and then your parents are going to be angry, and that's true. So it's like, I just got to put up and shut up. And then with the kids, it's like, well, I can fight him back, but then he's got 5 friends. They're going to rush me. So what can I do? I just got to keep up. It's best to keep quiet, just try and avoid it. So that's one of the things that, kept me quiet for many years. And I know so many people around the world would have gone through something similar to me, if not the same. So, already look, that's why it's hard to share my story. That's why I've got to work on this, because it takes me ages. It takes me ages to get out, so much to get through. But I suppose it's something that I'm still working on. I'm going to learn from Les Brown and get better at, condensing my story, because there's so many things that have happened. But I think people will take a lot of positives from it. They will get. See, that's what Les said, and I agree with him. And it's been my experience teaching. You don't really have to use a script if you speak from your heart. If you speak from your heart, it will speak to people's hearts. They will feel it. So it doesn't have to be perfect. Just as it has to be honest from the heart, which it is today, 100%. So where was I with this? So yeah, I remember thinking in my head, I can't sell, I can't make money, I ain't good enough, I ain't got the skill for it, no one's gonna buy from me. And do you know what's crazy, guys? When I started selling and I started doing it, I did sell. I was really good at it. I did make money, and people did like me, and they did buy my coaching at the start, and I changed their life. And it was like, like afterwards, after those experiences, I had to sit down and just say this. I just probably with this same expression, I had to go, I can't believe it. I'd always do this, and I love it when you guys had this and my clients. You get some time on your own, and you can sit down and process and say, I can't believe I just done it, because I didn't think I could do it. And that's part of my story. People doubt themselves. We all do, and they think I can't do that because they it's not even people, it's not even them, it's the demons in our head. The demons tell us that we can't do it, we're not good enough, and then it gives us a whole reason why we can't do it. Maybe it's a story because of our culture, whatever it's going to say, our skin color, our background, whatever it's going to say. The demons are going to lie to us. Oh, because we're not enough, or we didn't grow up rich, whatever it's going to say. And my demons say all sorts of things that are nonsense, lies. So where these demons and anxieties and traumas have said to me that you can't do that, you're not good enough, you're not qualified, you're just whatever, it gave me this strong impression. So when I'd done it, it's like they're lying. I beat them. I beat the demons. I beat the fear. And the rush that you get from that is one of the highest adrenaline rushes I've ever experienced. One of, including public speaking and getting in the ring and boxing, and maybe being in love. So that was just like mind blowing. And it's these experiences that transform my life. And that's really what motivated me to start transforming other people's lives. I've seen it. I've been seeing this for over 10 years now. I've had the privilege of witnessing. I'm having it at the moment with my client Philip. I'm witnessing a man who is literally transforming his life every single day, every month. I think I've been working with Philip now for, is it 4 months? And he's just he signed up to my 12-month anxiety program. We're going to do another, and I just can't believe how much he's changing. The results he's getting, it's incredible. It's so good to see. So I've witnessed people. I've witnessed people change their life. I've seen that transformation over a period of time, and it's a wonderful thing. So there's quite a lot of things that go into facing fear. It's not just what people think. Yeah, okay, yeah, we hear it all the time on YouTube. Yeah, face your fears, change your life. But there's a lot that goes into that. There's a lot of things that you got to work through to get to that point. And obviously, there's no guarantee that like anybody can face their fear, and that's great. That takes a lot of courage. But you're still not guaranteed you're going to get the result you want. Like I said in my story, and Les Brown said in his story, you are going to fail. It's inevitable. Like anybody that starts a business right now, they're not going to fail forever. They can be mega successful, but you're going to fail at some point. You're not going to get every client. You're not going to get every sale. Not every person's going to like you. Not every video that you do is going to get a lot of views. In dating, you're going to get rejected. Everybody does. Not every person you ask out is going to go out with you. And you have to really come to terms with that, because if you don't, you're not going to make it on this journey, or in the way that you want to make it. Does that make sense? So it's the wisdom that I learned on this journey that has been so useful. And I thought this the other day, because I did a Zoom call with a friend. I'm not going to say his name. It's very personal stuff that he's been going through. But what I can say is, I think I said this to him. I meant it. I meant it from my heart. I said to him, the wisdom that you've got now, I know that you've been through a lot and you are in pain at the moment. He's working through a lot of stuff, trauma, anxiety, big, deep stuff. I know you're in pain and it's not nice, and I don't want you to be in pain. And your pain is going to go eventually. It will go. But the wisdom that you've obtained, you couldn't have got that wisdom without going through this pain. Doesn't that give you some hope and inspiration that it's kind of worth the pain that you're going through to get that great wisdom? Because wisdom has to be earned, in my experience. Yeah, someone can tell you wisdom. I'm sharing wisdom with you right now, but I'm not confident that the wisdom I'm sharing with you, it's my wisdom, it's my life experiences, most of mine. I don't know if that's going to be more valuable than you getting your own wisdom. Does that make sense? I'm confident to say your wisdom would be more powerful than me just sharing mine. Because if I share my wisdom with you and you hear it and it motivates you, or it makes you learn something, but you don't go and apply it, I don't think it's going to be much use. I could be wrong, but that's, in this moment right now, that's how I feel. So it's the wisdom that you accumulate, and it's that wisdom that if you use that wisdom, you can improve your finances. If you use that wisdom, you could potentially change somebody else's life, or you could attract a great relationship, or you could end a toxic relationship, or you could fix a relationship, or you could start a business, or you could overcome fears or addictions or traumas. So it's the wisdom that you gain over time, and you grow as a person. You grow as you obtain the wisdom, but you only really get this wisdom through going out and working through the pain and the anxieties. And as I said, that's very, very challenging for all. It's still challenging for me. I've got 15 years experience in this, maybe a bit more. But depending on how much you practice it, how much you want it. I mean, this is going to be contradictory, but it's true. Sometimes it's not hard. Like some days I will do things, I'll see clients do things and it's easy for them, because maybe they felt good that day, or their mindset was more switched on. But there are other times in life where it's almost unbearable, even for me as well. As a a kind of consistent practitioner of facing fear. There's times where it's hot, really, really hard, really painful, really scary, and really you feel very insecure when you're approaching these fears that you're going to face. Um, but yeah, as Les Brown said, you got to never give up, and I never gave up, and I'm still here pushing on, motivating, inspiring, educating people, and I'm not giving up. But at times on my journey, I did feel like giving up because it just got really, really painful, and it got hard. It got very, very hard. But it's just that will to win in me, As Teddy Atlas said, and I agree with what he said. It's harder to quit than it is to continue, and a lot of people wouldn't understand that. People would be like, "What do you mean? How could it be harder to quit at something that's you're failing at than continue?" Well, because when you quit, you've got to live with the consequences, and that's so difficult. And I said earlier, I got to a stage in my life where I couldn't live with the consequences of not taking action. That's the word I wanted to use. I got to a stage in my life where I couldn't live anymore with the consequences of me living as a coward, living scared, living life. I wasn't living life fearlessly. I was living as a coward. I was depressed because I was depressed. And I was depressed because I wasn't confronting my anxieties in my life, and it was killing me inside. It was breaking my heart. My heart was being broke every single day. I was in agony, and I was tired, and I was exhausted, and I was fed up of the way I was living, and I was sick of myself. I was sick and tired of looking in the mirror and seeing the reflection of a guy who was running scared. So when I started to face my fears, I started to actually like the person I saw in the mirror and feel good about myself. And the depression, I was going to say slowly went away. I'm not sure if that's entirely accurate. I'm going to say that because I'm speaking from some of this is many years ago now. I'm trying to go back in my memory. The depression very quickly started to diminish because I got to a stage where, again, my client Philip's at this stage. It's a wonderful stage where you get to a point of no return. And what I mean by that is you take so much action, you make so much progress in your life that you can't go back to the way that you was. Does that make sense, guys? So I couldn't go back to the way that I used to be. The way I used to be was, well, wouldn't be doing this video now. This would never be happening. My old self couldn't do this, couldn't speak to people. I couldn't be on a video call. I couldn't do it. Couldn't do it. So my old self wouldn't do anything. I wouldn't go to boxing gym. I wouldn't run a business. There were times I wouldn't even go and see my family, friends, just hide on my own, stay in a flat, couldn't come out, isolated. Couldn't go to the gym, couldn't go for walks, couldn't travel, couldn't go to restaurants, hotels, couldn't go into shops and try on new things, too embarrassed, too uncomfortable around people, around public places. So when you get to a certain point where you do start getting confident and you do start going out and facing your fears and growing and you start getting results, you can't go back. And that's a great thing. I want everyone on the channel to have that. So man, I've got to work a way out of, I'm sure people are getting loads out of this, but I'm trying to figure out a way of simplifying my story because there's so much information. I don't know how these people do it on these TED Talks. They kind of condense their life story down to 15 minutes. That's a real skill. I'm going to have to practice at this. But I think I'm getting better and better. Of course, I'm getting better the more I'm telling it. So again, I'm following the process that it works every time. And it's not easy. And the process is you've got to keep practicing and facing your fears and being honest, being authentic and expressing yourself. And it doesn't matter if you make mistakes or you fail or you get embarrassed or you get nervous or you start to, the most important thing is that you don't give up, that you keep doing it, you keep doing it, you keep doing it, and you get better and better and better until you get to a point where you make it. And that makes it all worth it. So my story to tell the world is I couldn't face my fears. I wasn't living a successful life. The first part of my success was I found the courage through listening to a motivational talk from Les Brown, which motivated me beyond my emotional and psychological fears, and I went out and I tackled these fears one by one. That was the first success for me. That was like victory. The second success was after facing these fears and failing to get some of the results in the areas I wanted, i.e. financial, relationship, inspiring people, growing a business, getting in shape, I eventually attracted all these things, or I created them through the continuous process of not giving up. And that's why I said on this channel, I wasn't being horrible, but I said the majority of people on this channel, unfortunately, they're not committed enough to facing their anxiety. I know they're not doing it. I know the signs because I used to be like that. And fortunately, there are there is a smaller percentage of people I know, because I'm coaching them right now, who are committed and they are succeeding, they are doing it. So every time I do these talks, my goal is to make at least one person face their anxiety, even in one area. That's still a huge deal for me. That's a huge deal. I've said it before. The little step is the biggest step you're ever going to take in your life, because it's the little step that you take which is going to progress and lead on to the biggest step that you could ever imagine that you're going to take. See, stuff like this comes out of me when I'm not trying. And this is what Les Brown was saying. I'm learning a lot from him lately, that when you speak from the heart, you don't even know how you're saying these things, but it's just, you just trust it because it's true. The truth takes over and the words flow and people feel it resonate, and it really motivates people. Whereas if you're not speaking the truth and you're just trying to be, I don't know what people are trying to be, not honest anyway, it doesn't resonate with people. It doesn't work with me. I don't get motivated. If I go on someone's channel, I want some inspiration or some hope or some connection, and they're just talking out of their ego, I just switch it off straight away. I'm not interested. I've got to be honest. I can't do the fake stuff. I'm not a fake person. I'm not brought up like that. I don't expect people to be perfect, but I kind of pride myself on people being good and having good values, and having a good heart, and being genuine with people. Even if they're nervous, I still appreciate it. I'll prefer that than someone coming on and they're all fake. What's the point? It's not going to help me one bit. You're not giving anything to people like that. So my story as well is someone who, I wasn't the most talented. No way I was. I grew up seeing people, and I used to think, man, they're just so confident. Like, I wish I had that. They're just like geniuses at many different things, and I weren't like that. I've had to work hard to become good at things. I don't just learn things quickly. I'm not a quick learner. Maybe now it's speeded up, but back then I've not been a quick learner at anything. That's probably what's driven me to work so hard. And I've noticed with clients, and I mean this, I know what it is. I say I don't know what it is. I'm probably being polite there. I need to be more straight. I should have been more straight. I'm going to be straight now. The clients that are the most nervous that come to me, they always do the best. Do you know why they do the best? Because they want it more. They want it more. Where sometimes clients who come to me, of course they have anxiety, but they're not as nervous. Maybe they didn't get the amount of trauma that some other clients did and I did. So maybe they had a bit more of a privileged life. So they don't have that huge hunger in them to succeed, and they don't push themselves that much. They don't really need that much coaching from me, or they're not committed enough. It's almost like, yeah, I've got a bit of a problem. I'd like to improve it, but oh well, if it doesn't happen, my life is okay. But when I've got clients who are saying my life's hell, like I have to improve it, I have to do this, whatever it takes to succeed, within not breaking the law or hurting another human being, but whatever it takes, they go to another level. And I personally enjoy working with them the most because they're so committed and passionate, and I can help them to get better results. So the passion was always in me. I didn't know how to get it out because I was afraid, I was scared, I had self-doubt. Les Brown helped me to get the passion out. He ignited the fire in me. He put the switch on with the story, with the amazing wordsmith that he is, with the ingenious timing, his energy, his heart, who he is as a person, his life. It just resonated, and it just put a fire in me. And once you can switch that on in people, I don't think it ever really goes out. Even we all get days where we don't feel motivated. We all get days where we feel a bit down or we doubt ourselves. That's human. But overall, once you've got the fire in you, you've got the hunger to succeed. Once your hunger and your desire is stronger than your fear, you've already succeeded. You've done it. And that's another one of my goals on this channel of recent, is to motivate people, or to help them to ignite that hunger and passion in them, to the point where it's larger than their fears. And that's again part of my story. At the start, My fears were larger than my passions and my dreams. But after working on myself and listening to these motivational messages, my hunger just got bigger and bigger and bigger. And recently, my hunger is really growing because I really want to make a bigger impact on the people that I know that I'm meant to help. It's my purpose to help those people, and I honestly believe those people are men that were just like me 15 years ago. They are paralyzed with anxiety. They're not living the life that they want. They're not pushing themselves. They have self-doubt. They're not happy. They're not connected. They're not themselves. They're not living authentically. And those are the people that I am speaking to. Because when I first started, I was like, well, I just want to help everyone. And as time's gone, I realised that I don't really need to do that. There's so many good people out there that are making a difference. I just need to focus on the people that I'm meant to help. And that actually feels more true to me now, because it's not everybody that needs my help, and not everybody needs to hear my story. It might not resonate with them. They don't need it. But there's a lot of people that do need to hear it. And they are the ones who have this anxiety. It is a disorder. It is a disorder. And that's not to put labels on anyone. You can break out of the labels, but to start with, it is a disorder. It's a problem, man. It is a problem. I'm not going to downplay it. I had it. See, we need to speak up on these things because there's so much, there's so much suffering out there that men go through, and a lot of people don't understand it. And I understand it because I had it and I broke out of it. So it is a problem. But the great news is you can overcome this problem. But like I said, it's not going to be an easy ride. It just isn't, in my experience. It's really, really tough. And, most teachers and entrepreneurs who are selling their services, they don't say this stuff because they're afraid that if they say this, then they won't make any money. Then people won't buy their programs. But I've never done that, and I'm not going to do that. It's not my style. I'd rather be honest with people and say, look, it's going to be really tough. It's not going to be easy, even with my coaching, or if you choose to do it on your own, or watch my free videos, or if you want to take my high ticket coaching, it's going to be a lot easier with my help, but it's still going to be hard for you. But if you can accept that and get inspired and excited by that, and not let that make you feel, oh, that's depressing, oh, I don't want to do it now, you can change your life. It isn't easy, and it's not supposed to be easy. It isn't. It's not easy for any of us, believe me. It's still challenging for me. People probably think, oh, it's easy for me now. I've got everything handled because I'm successful, because I built a business. No, it's not. I have challenges. I have a new chapter that I'm going into, and it's really challenging for me. It's not easy, and I'm human. It's scary as well, but I'm going to face it as I always do, so I can help more people and I want to grow myself as well. I'm still learning. Les Brown's the same. He's 75 years of age, bless him. And he's still passionate. He's still learning. He's still growing. And he said, you're never too young to teach, and you're never too old to learn. And I'm not too old to learn either. So that might be a later story that I'll tell people, that maybe I'll have a book, something of that title, that people think when you become successful and you overcome your fears and you change your life, they almost think that's it. Oh, it's finished now, you're done, you just live happily ever after. It's like, no, it's not. It's not. It's just the start of another chapter. It's wonderful. It's great. Yeah, you have a honeymoon period. It's like, yeah, I made it. I'm a success. I'm proud of myself. I've inspired people. I've made money. I'm living a dream life. I've turned my life around. I'm a better person. I'm more confident. That's wonderful. But then life still has to go on, doesn't it? And we still got to keep growing. And there are other challenges. So for me, I feel like I've just got started. So yeah, wow, I've been speaking now for almost an hour, but I did enjoy this talk. Appreciate people coming on. So that's my story in full. I've given you different angles, different perspectives. I've come at it different ways. I'm starting to think I might just keep doing it like this. I like to be different type of other people as well. Everyone's got their own style, because there's a lot of things that I've done, and I want people to get the bits from it that's going to help. But yeah, my message is, if I can summarize it before I end the stream today, what you got to do is this. It's quite simple. You got to write your fears down, admit them, and say, this is what I'm afraid of, but this is what I want to do in my life, and you got to go and do it. You got to just take a risk. And you know what? If you screw up, and you fall on your ass and you embarrass yourself and people laugh at you, or you don't make it, you know what you've got to do? You've got to get back up again. It sounds cheesy. I'm laughing when I say it, but I'm going to go into some rocky motivational tangent. And you've got to go again and have another go at it. You've got as many goes as you want. So if you ask somebody out and they say, no, don't want to date you, and they reject you, you've got to dust yourself off. You've got to get up, love yourself, be proud of yourself, and go and ask somebody else out. And if they say no, then you've got to pick yourself up and ask somebody else out until somebody says yes. And that's the metaphor for how I've lived my life in the last 15 years. And that's what's changed my life and all clients I work with. And you will, as Les Brown said, you will fail your way to success, providing that you don't quit. Obviously, if you ask someone out and they say no, and then you get butt hurt, and then you never ask anyone out again, well, then you're not going to get success. And that's because you've rejected yourself, no one else, because you've stopped. And that's what I realized in life. I used to have it in my head that outside forces, someone is stopping me. Like if I get a rejection, everybody goes ha ha ha, everyone laughs at me in society, and it's almost like they handcuffed me, and then I can't ever try again. It's not true. That's the mind, the trick of the mind, all of its complexities, fears, demons, all the stuff. Go again. Same within selling. If you start a business and you're selling a product or a service, you get on a call or a business meeting and somebody says, yeah, you know, I've enjoyed talking to you, mister, but actually I don't want to buy from you, or it's too expensive, or I'm not interested in the product. You don't quit. You're going to feel like quitting at times because it's going to affect you, but you don't quit. You don't quit because you got rejected. It's not logical. It is irrational, I know. Logic tells you, quit. If you try something and you fail, you feel bad. Logic kicks in and says, you're not good, quit. It's not going to work out. But that's not true. That is not true. I've done it millions of times. So many people have done it. You guys know that deep down, but you've got to do that for yourself. Knowing that I've done it and believing I've done it, and you've seen me do it, if you followed my journey over the years, and you've seen my clients do it, you have to do it so it's real for you. So it's about not giving up when you fail. Failure equals success. And you've got to face your fears to fail with success. In order to fail and then get the success you want in your life, what's the fundamental principle that we've all got to implement? Facing fear, facing anxiety, facing discomfort, putting yourself out there. And the more you do it, the easier it gets. And when you get the success, it gives you a lot of confidence. And when you know what's crazy? This is weird. I'm learning this today. You guys are helping me to bring this out. When you're nervous and you're going through a bad time and you've got low self-esteem, if you try something and you get rejected, it knocks your confidence. I've seen it with clients, and I've been through it. It happens to them at a certain stage, and I can pick them back up and build it, help them build it. Alex, let me explain, please. So let's say a guy is really, really insecure about women and about dating. He doesn't believe he can get a date because when he was younger, he fell in love and he got his heart broken, and someone at school stole his girlfriend or whatever, and that's hurt him his whole life. So now he's got a belief that he can't get a date because of that trauma. So let's say 10 years on, he's 35 years of age, and eventually he sees a girl that he likes in a coffee shop, and he goes up and he speaks to her, says hello, she's friendly, and then he says, you know what, would you like to go out on a date with me for a coffee? And she says, you're a nice guy, great to speak to you, but I'm going to have to say no, I'm not interested, but thank you. He goes away and he's just broken. He's just like, oh my God, it's true. It's true what my demon said in my mind. I'm not good enough. Nobody wants me. Women don't want me. And he starts breaking, he cries, he's upset. That's going to knock his confidence. It will affect him at that point. But let's say I come along, or Les Brown, or one of my advanced clients, and I say, listen, mate, I know it's horrible what just happened, but I promise you, you can get past this. You can fail way to success. Just because she said no, and just because you got hurt 10 years ago, and just because your mind's telling you that you're not good enough, no one will. Let me work with your confidence. Let me build it up. Gym, diet, goal setting. Let me just tweak your social skills. Let me give you some advice on, your body language. Maybe when you're speaking, your body language is like that. Or maybe when you're talking to a girl, you're not making eye contact, you're looking away a bit, or you're not maybe you're not coming from your heart. I'll help him with these things and we'll correct it, and we'll have maybe 10 conversations, and eventually he'll meet someone, he'll be more confident, he'll get the number, she'll say yes and go out of him. Once he gets that experience, once he gets the negative, the rejections, which knock his confidence, but then he doesn't quit, he keeps going, and then eventually he gets a success, he will be one of the most confident men in London or in America or Colombia, wherever we are today. Why? Because he failed his way to success. He went through that process. He didn't quit when he felt like quitting. He didn't quit when his mind said, it's because you're not good enough. You see, it's true. He didn't quit. And that's my story. That is my story. That example there is what I did. And that's what anyone can do. But you know what's crazy? I didn't know I could do that years ago until Les Brown told me I could do it. So sometimes we need someone. We do need someone in our life. We need mentors that they've overcome what we're struggling to overcome right now in our life. They've been through the same struggles that we've been through in our life or similar. They've had the self-doubt. I've had the self-doubt that all of you have had. Every single one of you, I've had it in my head, the same as you. Even some of you might not believe it. This is a fact. I've felt insecure just the same way all of you did. I've had self-doubt. I've not believed in myself, but I've overcome it through that process of constant practice and not quitting. And it is hard at times. Like I said, I'm not going to lie. It's hard sometimes to not want to quit because it's so painful, and but you have to find a purpose in life. So that same process that I just described then, with the guy asking the girl out and getting rejected and feeling hurt and his confidence being shattered, and then how he can build it back up. Same in business. That's what happened to me. I got confident through growing through the rejections of women and then getting the success. It made me feel so good about myself, so happy in my own heart, that I went, right, I got nothing to lose. I think I can do anything now. If I can do that, which was something that I found so challenging my whole life, and I didn't believe I was good enough. Now I've done it. I think I can go and start my own business. I can do it. I can make money. I can make money changing people's lives, doing something genuine. And I did, and then I went, I can go out on stage and do public talks because I was able to get a nice girlfriend and not quit with rejections. So your confidence just goes up from strength to strength, and it spreads into every area of your life. And if you keep working in different areas, and one thing I did that I recommend all you doing, all of you lot do, I kept learning from people that were better than me, mentors, Les Brown, many other people, names that I can't remember right now. But I would learn from them. I would be around other people and just pick things up from them. I might see something and go, oh, I like his approach to that. So it's all, Les Brown said it, you need to be in a constant, perpetual state of learning, growing, and having this hunger. And the more, do you know what's crazy? I'm realizing this today. I hope a lot of you get this. I pray that you do. The more you practice being brave, the better you get. You become confident. The confidence comes from putting yourself through this experience that I'm putting myself through right now, this demonstration, which is speaking, which is something that a lot of people are afraid to do. Believe me, a lot of people. See, there's speaking, and then there's speaking. Speaking is just when we're just doing small talk. We're protecting ourselves. We're not going to be hurt emotionally. But when you speak from your heart and you make yourself vulnerable and you don't hide and you open up, that takes courage. But yeah, there's a risk you can be hurt, and if somebody judges you, it can hurt you badly because you're going to take it personal, depending on who you are and how strong you are. Once you get to a certain level, it doesn't affect you because your opinion of yourself is more important to you than the opinion of someone else's opinion of you. There you go. That's another thing that you get over. So it's the constant practice, and I think many years ago, that's why a lot of people on this channel, that's why they liked my infield videos, because I wasn't perfect, I wasn't claiming to be, and I didn't succeed in all of them, but that wasn't the point. That inspired people. It was my work ethic that I didn't quit, and I still maintained, I hope to believe I was decent and respectful, and passionate, and I did succeed as well, and I failed a lot, and people related to that, and that inspired people. It made people feel good about themselves, which was the whole reason why I put them out, to show the truth, to show, look, you don't have to be perfect. No one is. There's a lot of people out there that are, they're not honest. They're just showing you all the good bits, and I'm not going to do that to you because I want you to succeed. I want you to have the full truth, which I had, which changed my life. Why am I going to hide something that I'm not ashamed of? If we're hiding stuff, it's because we're ashamed. So if I'm hiding, if I only tell you the good bits in my story, and I only talk about the cool bits to impress you, it's because I'm ashamed about telling you about the bad bits. I'll tell you all of it. I'll tell you the bad bits and the good bits, because the good bits are going to inspire you to know, well, you can be great and succeed, and the bad bits are going to make you feel, you're going to relate and feel better, because you're going to go, well, I've got bad bits as well. I've got the same bad bits he's got, or similar mistakes, and now I don't feel ashamed. Now I don't feel like I'm being judged. So it frees people up. So wow, we've gone deep today. I didn't know we were going to go here. This talks, man, you guys have been great. I'm just upset that I'm sorry about that. Maybe this was meant to happen, right? Sometimes things are meant to happen. So yeah, man, that's my story. It just changed from facing my fears, and I want to make a point of saying that this wasn't like, it wasn't a quick fix. This is like, it would initially, it was like 18 months. I changed my life after listening to that Les Brown motivational message, but I've continued, and now it's been, my journey started in, well, 2012. Where are we now? 2022, 12, 20, 10. We're coming to 2023. It's almost been 11 years. I mean, excuse me, the journey started a bit before that, but I mean, officially, you know, I started teaching almost 11 years ago, and obviously with, you know, YouTube presence. So I'm still in that process, man. I'm still learning, still growing and teaching. I love it. It's challenging as hell, but it's worth it. So if you're listening to this message, there's many things I've said, and I just want to simplify it to people and say, listen, now's the time. Now's the time. Stop waiting to be qualified. Don't listen to your mind. It's going to lie to you. The self-doubt is gonna fight against what I'm saying, what you're trying to do. You got to push it. You got to ignore it. You got to go for it. And it doesn't matter if you listen. When people say to me, you know, Johnny, I went out and I tried and I failed. You know what I say? I've got a lot of respect for you. Well done, man. You should be proud of yourself, because you know why? Most people won't get to that point, unfortunately. I'm sorry to say that, man. Like, you went and tried. There's no shame in that. That's a success, in my opinion. Success is a man or a woman who has got the courage to go out and try and live their dreams and try and be great and face the fear. You know, at the end of the day, that takes a lot of courage. So people like to knock that, and they like to be critical of that, and they like to troll people and things like that. But really, that comes deep down from the fact that they don't have the courage to go and do it, and they're a bit jealous or resentful, or just want to poke fun at people because they're not in a good place. But people that are in a good place wouldn't do that. I wouldn't do that to someone. I know what that takes, and I actually admire them. I don't shame them. I don't look down on them. I look up on them. I think that's amazing. It's okay that you failed. You know, it's okay because you tried, and that means a lot to me, and I know that means a lot to most smart people, heartfelt people. So the point is, you know, trying is succeeding. The problem that I have, what pisses me off, and what makes me get angry sometimes, and I'm impatient. Well, not angry, but well, maybe a little bit of people, is when they don't try, they don't do anything, because that's how I used to be in it, and it's. You know, yeah, in psychology, they say we get a bit triggered by what we wouldn't like in ourselves. And I didn't like that myself years ago. And it frustrates me in people when they don't do anything. Because I think you could do a lot more than that. You're not doing anything at the moment. And I understand, because you're scared and you don't want to be in pain, and you don't want to be judged. And I get that. But where you are right now is not good anyway. What have you got to lose? You're in pain anyway. You're depressed. You don't feel good about yourself. You don't like your life. So do something about it. Face the fear now and rise, because if you don't, it's not going to get any better. And that's another thing I learned on my journey. The more you avoid fear, the worse it gets. The depression. See, the depression's horrible. I actually think that the depression, the darkness, and the sadness and the loneliness and the despair that comes with being an avoidant type personality is so horrible for people. It's horrible. I've been there. So it's better to do the opposite, to jump in the deep end and face it. And if you get your ass kicked, you get your ass kicked. Oh well. You can celebrate that and laugh about that. I can have many laughs with you guys about. I've got my ass kicked so many times in life. Life's kicked my ass so many times, man. Kicked my backside up and down all over the place. In boxing, I've my ass kicked. In dating, I've my ass kicked. In business, I've had my ass kicked. In YouTube, my ass kicked. At school, I had my ass kicked around my area. I've been laughed at, my ass kicked growing up. But guess what? I never quit. And after getting the ass kickings, I dust myself off. I got back up, and I just kept fighting like a pit bull until I succeeded. And lately, I'm in a great place. I thank God every day. Things are really picking up. I'm succeeding in many areas of my life. But I'm still getting my ass kicked. I fail every day. I fail every day in business. I get rejected. And in YouTube and things, but every day I get the success as well. It's worth it. You know, every single day I'm unsuccessful at attracting committed clients. Not everybody wants to work with me. My price, I'm too expensive, they don't value me, they're not sure. Every day I hear that, but I've got experience. I don't quit from that point. But every single day, I come in contact with people who do value me, and I change their lives, and I attract clients on a day-to-day basis who take my programs. So it's give and take, and I accept that. That's life. That's failure equals success. And if you haven't got the courage, then you're not going to be living a dream life. So that's another thing. And I'm gonna say something. Well done to anybody who has had the stamina to listen to my talk, because I do my talks and I think, man, this is hard to hear. It's hard for me to say this stuff, let alone for people to listen to it, because it's hard hitting. It's raw. It's no it's not politically correct, I guess. Or there's no bullshit. And I'm saying it, and there's part of me saying, "Oh man, don't say that, don't say that. It's too much for people. They're not going to want to hear it. It's too truthful." But then my heart says, I got to tell the truth. I got to tell them. If I want to help people, which I do, and I want to be better at helping them, and I pray to God to make me, as much as He can make me, more sincere. Because I don't believe when someone says they're sincere, and if they are, that's great. But I believe we can become more sincere, and I know I can be. I want to be a better person. I just want to be, I'm happy with who I am, but I can't just accept. I don't want to be better. I have to be better to others. And I want to be better for myself, selfishly, as all of us should. So I always have that part of me. And that's probably my upbringing, where it's like I don't want to upset people, I don't want to offend them, I don't want to make them feel uncomfortable. But something takes over, and I'm like, hell, fuck that, man. Sorry, I swear. I ain't doing that. I've got to tell them the truth, because if I don't, they're not going to succeed. It's not going to help them. It's not going to work. And, these conversations, don't know why I'm laughing, probably I'm telling the truth and it's making me giggle. These conversations is what I had to have with myself, and it weren't easy. And my mentors had to tell me this stuff, and it's not always easy to hear. I remember as a kid, I've said it before on my channel, my father told me many things that have changed my life that I didn't want to hear. I didn't want to hear the things he used to tell me. He used to tell me things like, life's tough. It's going to be tough, and you got to learn how to handle it. And right now, this used to really upset me. He used to say to me, right now, you're a bit too soft. You need to toughen up, because life's going to get tough, and I want you to handle it. Obviously, he would say, you're my son. I care about you. Now I get it. Now I appreciate it. I didn't get it back then. I was a young kid. So what I'm saying is, I appreciate you guys for staying on my videos for this duration and hearing me out, because it is enough to offend a lot of people, and I know that the truth can offend. But of course, people that are ready for the talk, they're not offended by it. They lap it up. It's like a protein shake when you've done a workout to the muscles. It's craving it. It's nutrition. Nutrition for the soul. Oh boy, Man, Les has put a fire in me. He's motivated me more than he did so many years ago to make a bigger difference, a bigger impact. I say on this channel, yeah, on this channel around the world, because this channel goes around the world. So I can't believe it, man. I can't believe what you guys can do, because I know from what I've done, and I'm going to be honest with you guys, I can't believe the talk I've just given today. I don't know where this come from. You know, when I look back at where I started, I've just been speaking for 75 minutes. I didn't have any scripts. I didn't know I was going to do this talk today. I was a little bit tired, actually. I was laying down, I was going to chill out, and I thought, I can't just sit around. I want to do something and give value and keep working on this vision. I didn't know this was going to come out today, but I have been listening to a lot of Les, and I'm thankful to the inspiration. He's helped me to be even like bring out more of my authentic story. But I just can speak, and I could just keep going on and on and on. I'm gonna have to end this at some point, and I can't see the comments. That's frustrating me. So anyone can do it. You don't realize, man. I can get emotional. People don't realize what they can do until they do it. People don't realize what they do until they keep doing it. I've seen it, man. I've got friends right now who are coaches. They're brilliant at what they do, and I watch, I observe, I see them growing. I see the improvements. I see the talent that they've got. It's just you just don't know. One second, I'm gonna get some water. We're gonna finish this soon. Can't believe it, man. I've run out of water. I have to go down and get some. Oh, I cannot believe it. How did I manage that? I always get all my shopping. So I've got to make a video on this. You know, it's hard to explain unless people do it. People, you don't know what you can do until you do it. Maybe I'm gonna have to start making a quote or make some T-shirts. Maybe people can write that down. I'm gonna say that out loud. I don't want to lose that. Teaching's just coming out of me. You don't know what you can do until you do it. And what I really mean by that is people doubt themselves, and they believe the self-doubt. They believe it to the point where they don't do anything. So it's a bit like being with a negative friend, and you're out somewhere and you see a person that you really like and you want to ask them out, and your friend says, you can't do that. And you're like, oh, why? And they're like, you're a loser, you can't do that. She's not gonna go out of you. And you're like, and then you don't do it. But don't listen to that friend. He's negative. Don't trust what he's saying. If you said, hang on a minute, you know, I'm going to be honest, you're full of crap. Listen, that's your opinion. Watch this. I'm not gonna, or just ignore them. You go and do it. You ask the person out, and you say, hey, nice to meet you. Do you want to come at me? And they go, yeah, I'd like to go out with you. And you're like, he was talking a load of rubbish. He just said I couldn't do it, and I did it. And that's how self-doubt works. Self-doubt is like a negative, toxic friend that is continuously putting us down, criticizing us, and telling us that we can't do anything, we're not good enough, we're not capable. So we have to challenge it. We have to challenge self-doubt on a daily basis if you want to live a dream life and keep growing and maintain a dream life. And that's what I was trying to say earlier on. Some people assume that when you're successful and you're on YouTube and you're an influencer or a teacher, they think that you're perfect, that all of a sudden you've got everything handled. But what people don't realize is that's not the case. You have to maintain it. If I don't maintain going to the gym, socializing with my family, running a business, teaching people, making a positive impact, working on my relationships, working on my relationship fears, I will start deteriorating. I'm not going to lose all of it, but I will lose a lot of it. Same way of keeping in shape. If I don't continue dieting and living the healthy life I'm living now, you're not going to see no slim face. You're going to see a big face. You're going to see my belly coming out, and I'm going to be out of shape. So there's so many different levels to success. You know, there's going from a point where you're unsuccessful and then getting there, and that's a whole journey and a lot of work, which is great. But when you arrive there, it's all good and well. But we've seen it, haven't we? We've seen it. We're not judging anyone, but we've seen celebrities that have become superstars and they make millions of pounds and everybody loves them. Well, they think that, and it goes to their head, and they think all of a sudden they don't need to continue working hard anymore. They get complacent, You know, some of them go on drugs. You know, they go out of control. And what happens, sadly, they go bankrupt, or they go and do crazy things and they end up, you know, going in prison, or they get on drugs, or, you know, they get around fake people that use them and abuse them, or they just, you know, they might start losing in their sport. They might be the top level athletes in MMA, and then all of a sudden they ain't got the hunger no more. They get beaten and then they're depressed again. Why? Because they didn't maintain that level of discipline, which got them to that position in the first place. And that's something that I've learned. So, man, I'm starting to feel like a walking encyclopedia of wisdom, but I've just gathered a lot of experience. So, I just think there's so many reasons why people should just go, listen, I'm just going to make it simple. Life's difficult for all of us. That's that's common knowledge. We all have fears. That's another common knowledge. We all have insecurities. Most of us got dreams. What have you got to lose right now? What have you got to lose? If you don't go out and face your fears and risk it, what is the alternative? I'll tell you what the alternative. A life of misery, a life of defeat, a life of pessimism, a life of sadness. In most cases, a life of financial struggle, mental and emotional struggle, and a life with very little meaning. That's what you're going to get. Now that's guaranteed. You've got that in the bank. That's not something that you have to worry about. You're going to get that automatically. And as Mr. Les Brown says, if you don't go after what you want in life, life will automatically give you what you don't want. That is factual in my experience. If you don't go and create your dream life, then you will automatically be given a life that you don't want. It's always the case. Same in every area. So it's really trying to get through to people, and this is what I had to do with myself many years ago, and this is what the mentor's done for me. You're trying to get through to people and say, look, I understand that you're scared. We're all scared. We all have fears. We all got challenges in life. You know, we've all been through bad times, and you're afraid of losing what you've got. But what are you going to gain by protecting yourself from being hurt and fear and not trying? Nothing, just more sadness. Go for it. Become fearless. Because when you become fearless, your life becomes limitless. And when you take the risk, you get the reward. I think people think in their head, this is the mindset. I've done a video on this, by the way, it's coming. People are in a job that they don't enjoy. They're doing the job because it pays just enough to pay their rent and their living expenses, and it gives them security. I get that. I understand that. I've been there myself. But they're not happy in the job. They don't like it. They hate the job, really. Deep down, they don't want to be there. And they want to start their own business doing something that they love. But they won't do it. They won't do it. They're scared of doing it. Because the mind's going to say, what if it doesn't go well? What if I can't make the money? What if it fails? But you can't think like that. You've got to actually go, people have got to say, I can't do this no more. I can't handle this no more. I can't do this life anymore. I'm done with it. I'm giving it up. I'm giving this job up. I don't care. And it's a healthy I don't care. It's not like I don't care about my life. I don't care about other people. No, it's I don't care about the failure. I want to succeed. Then you're going to get there. I done it. I don't know how many people on this channel that don't know me. I understand you might not know me. You might be thinking, well, how do you know I'm telling the truth? How do you know I've done this myself. I was in a job many years ago, an office job. I didn't like it. I knew I didn't want to do it. I didn't have any savings at the time. I had no savings. It's a true story. The only pay I was getting was that from that job in that month. And I remember the pay was about, I think it was £1,300. That's all I had. And I said to myself, I'm quitting. So I quit the job. I knew that was coming, the payment. Got the payment. Went in the toilet in the job in the mirror. I remember this is before I started my business. I think I was crying. I was sad. I was emotional. I didn't let anybody see in work. I was crying, but I was stressed out, you know. I was pissed off. I looked in the mirror. I said, I'm quitting today. I don't care. I don't care. I knew that my family were going to be disappointed, and they were a bit disappointed. They were worried at the time because they were saying, I understand, they were saying, what are you going to do for a job? You just got a good job. It's an office job. It's a salary. What are you going to do? And I said, I know what I'm going to do. Don't worry. I know what I'm going to do. And they were like, what are you going to do? I said, I'm going to be a dating coach. And they were like, what? They were like how is that going to make you a living? I said, trust me, I'm going to do it. I'm good at it. And it's my passion. And it worked out. It worked out. So sometimes no one believes in you, but I had one person who believed in me, Les Brown. And obviously I met my girlfriend eventually, and she believed in me. She was wonderful. So, you know, it's just, you got to have the hunger, man. And that's something that I can't teach. You just can tell people your story and hope that they get inspired. So I'm going to speak for 5 more minutes. So this is a 90-minute talk, and then we'll call it a day, call it a night. So isn't it funny? I've just learned something today from teaching. It's all about having a transformational conversation, because the conversation that you're having right now is keeping you in a life that you don't want to be in. And in order to break out of that conversation, which is a negative conversation, it's full of fear, it's full of self-doubt, it's full of limiting beliefs, it's full of your past, it's full of what will people think, I'm not qualified, he's better than me, she's better than me, they're better than me, I'm just this small person, they're more powerful than me, they're more respected. All that's going on in your head, or what will my parents think, or what, but all these things. That's a negative conversation. That conversation is keeping you a prisoner right now. It's keeping you a prisoner in probably in a body that you don't want to be in, a life that you don't want to be in a career you don't want to be in, probably in a financial situation that you don't want to be in all those areas. Where the positive conversation is what I'm giving you now, which is going to be challenging to the negative. That's the conversation that needs to kick in. I know I can do this. I'm willing to fail my way to success. I want this more than I can breathe. I'm willing to do whatever it takes, aside of hurting any other human being. I don't want to do that. I don't want anyone to do that. And I'm not going to break the law. But within maintaining the law and integrity and honesty and being human, I'm going to do whatever it takes. I'm going to work my arse off. I'm going to work my effing arse off. And I'm going to, if I have to get mentors, I'm going to get mentors. If I've got to invest my courage, if it means getting my heart broken again and again and again, I'm afraid, but we're going to go for it. We're going to do it anyway, because I have to succeed. I can't live this life anymore, and I want to grow as a person. See, there's 2 changes that you've got to make to change your life. It's not just changing your life itself, your job or your career, your finances or your body. You've got to change something in yourself. Your character, something has to change in you. And as Les Brown says, in order to do something that you've never done, you've got to become someone that you've never been. Now, he's not saying that you completely change your personality. No, of course. Everybody's got a unique personality. There's certain things in your personality right now that are wonderful. They're never going to change. They're beautiful. But there's certain parts that need to change. If they don't change, your life ain't going to change. And a lot of that is your courage, which does coincide, or it connects with your character. And if you've got a weak character and you're too pleasing and you're too careful and you're too conservative, in the sense of that you're not you're too careful about stuff, you know, there's not enough repetition in your action, then you're not going to get there right now unless you change. So it's all about changing your inner conversation, and there's different teachers that do it different ways. My way, how I help my clients to change their conversation from a pessimistic, self-doubting, negative one to a confident, optimistic, all-believing, all-knowing, abundant mentality, is by getting them to face fears in real life on a practical level. And that's how it changes over time. Because when I first started, I didn't believe in myself until I did it. And that's why I'm going to end on this quote. You will not believe you can do it until you actually do it. I'll say that one more time. You will not believe what you can actually do, all of you, until you do it. On that note, we're gonna call it a night. It's been an hour and a half. I've loved the talk. Appreciate everyone coming on. And long may these talks last, as long as the Lord blesses me with the strength and the courage to continue making an impact on people. I'm going to keep doing it because I'm enjoying it. It still challenges me. I love it, and I want to see where this journey is going to go, and I want to make an even